Joshua! Wow! Look at Joshua! In an unbelievable round here!
I am the greatest.
Roshan, I want your heart. I want to eat his children. Praise be to Allah.
It's showtime!
Hello and welcome to what is a first podcast for VAVEL Boxing. I'm joined by two members here. Today we're going to be looking at review of the weekend from the Matchroom card. It featured Alen Babic versus Tom Little, Fabio Wardley versus Richard Lartey, and the headline event, which was Conor Benn versus Sebastian Formella. So how are we doing, boys, for starters?
Do you want to start? I'm starting.
How you going, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. Name's Leif Payne from Stoke, writer for VAVEL. And yeah, it's a good weekend of boxing for free if you subscribe to Sky. Enjoyed the whole card, really, especially the main event, which I'm sure we'll get to later. But don't know what fight you want to start on, what you want to talk about, or Dave, want to...
I'm Dave Lawson-Cooke, new writer for VAVEL from North Wales. I just said great card of boxing on the weekend, and we can just get straight into it, talking about the fight.
Yeah, good to have you both here. I'm your host. I'm George Priestman, and forgive me for my student Wi-Fi and my settings right now. But we'll jump straight in with the boxing. Obviously, Alen Babic versus Tom Little, which was, when I first saw it made, it was a fantastic little scrap. It was something that boxing fans would take as a little bit of a treat. You don't get many fights where you know it's going to be guaranteed chaos, and that is definitely what we saw, wasn't it, David?
Yeah, it was, mate. Babic in his previous fights, and he just relentless coming forward. It's non-stop pressure. He just wants to fight, and I thought it was a good performance from him against Tom Little, who he's on a very bad run of form. I do want to see him try and get a win, but you can't take anything away from Babic. You got him out there. Yeah,
he got the job done. Throwing it over then, what did you think? Tom Little was a little bit poor on the night. He didn't throw enough punches.
I don't think he had opportunity to reach out there. We saw snippets of a glimpse of what he can do. Some nice counter punching. He rolled a few, put the uppercut in there. He tried to get behind his jab, but when you've got a fighter coming at you like that, it's very hard to actually show what you can do. And I hope that he gets more opportunities, Tom Little, because he's good for the sport. He'll get it. And I mean, if we look at Babic now going forward, that was his sixth fight, sixth KO. Can he actually bring that type of fight to the rest of the heavyweight division? Is he big enough for the heavyweight division? Should he drop down to cruiser? I guess we'll see in time, really. But yeah, he'll both of them will take any fight, as you can see when he took the opportunity to get in the ring and have a scrap. But I enjoyed that fight, and it set up the rest of the night, really.
Yeah, he's definitely entertaining to watch. So it's just something you brought up then. Looking forward for him, what sort of level do you see Alen Babic at right now, David? Like, is he European level? Is he still British level? Or is he looking to really push for some bigger fights next year?
It's hard to tell, but I'd probably put him just around, maybe pushing European level, but he's not quite there yet, I think. The big question I've got with him is his size. Is he too small? He was saying at his press conference that he'll come in at 82 kgs against Tom Little, which is crazy for a heavyweight, really, isn't it? But that's the big question. When he finds someone who can keep him off and hurt him with big shots, we'll see how far he can go. And I think, to be honest, if I had to pick a opponent for him next, it would be David Price, because Price can punch, and I think he maybe would have the power to keep him off. And then we'd learn a lot more about Babic and how far he could go from that fight.
Yeah, that's straight into my next question, really. Who's he looking to fight next? And David Price, I've got written down here. But look, you think of the height difference there. You know what I mean? It was David Price 6'8", 6'9", going against a 6'1" fighter. I mean,
he's a giant.
It's a great fight, but would that be a huge factor in the fight?
I don't know how that one will go, but I mean, if I feel like it might play out the same as Tom Little. I mean, you've got to think about David Price. What's he got left in his career? I mean, he's suffered some heavy knockout defeats. Can he really get back in? And I think Babic takes that one just because of how active he is in the ring. So good, you've stumped me there. I wouldn't really know how that one would play out. What about you, David?
I feel like Babic, even though I feel he's more aggressive coming forward, he has a similar style to, like, he's similar size and similar style to Dave Allen, the way that he came against Price. And I think Price showed what he needed to show, because he obviously had such a promising career before his defeats. But he showed there that he can still mix it with the lads at British level. And I just do wonder if Babic is as good as he has looked so far. And I think that'll be a good test for him.
Yeah, definitely. I think that'd be a fight that it makes a lot of sense under the same banner as well. But one thing is for sure, the Hrgovic fight is definitely way too early to being talked about for me. I think Hrgovic is pushing world level, and Babic is obviously still trying to force his name into contention. So as good a fight as a Croatian clash would be, that would probably shut down Croatia. You're probably not going to see that for a long time, but he's definitely got a lot of options going forward, and I expect him to see him out at least, what do you reckon, 2-3 times next year?
Maybe more. Depending on the opponent, really, and the level of opponent. Obviously, if you're putting him in against somebody not on his level, he can keep going and just keep getting fights, getting experience really in the pro ranks. But 2 to 3, if he's fighting somebody massive at the end of the year, we'll see what Eddie Hearn's got planned for him, really.
Yeah, I feel like he will fight at least 2 or 3 times next year. It's just that from this last fight, he's only just come over the 12-round mark. He's been blasting people out so early on, and he's not really taking much damage. But obviously, when he gets in there with someone with a bit more ability, that will be happening.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. On to the next fight, which was the Fabio Wardley versus Richard Lartey fight. Another good fight when I saw it when it was made, and I thought it was a great step up for Wardley. And he looked good. He looked strong. He looked big. For a guy who's not had a lot of experience, he stopped a guy that's, we saw Dubois stop him in 4. He did it in half the rounds. He did it in 2. I'll go firstly with, how impressive was he, David?
I think he was very good. As you said, Lartey, he's become like a gatekeeper now for these fighters coming through. And obviously was stopped by Dubois, who's pushing on to do bigger things now. But he also took Nathan Gorman the distance. So Lartey isn't a punching bag that you may say that Wardley had fought him before. But I think it was a good performance. He looked strong. He showed that he had that big punching power. And yeah, I think it was a good step up for him.
To play devil's advocate, there was a lot of talk on Twitter and just around boxing that it looked a little bit like a fall, a little bit of he's taking a look for a way out with the punch.
I don't know. I mean, if you take into consideration he was a bit stunned before that. The big boys in that division, the jab did shake him. As you can see, he backed onto the ropes. Another jab. Obviously, he might have been a bit dizzy from that, and then he just came through in half on the gloves, half on the face. Eddie Hearn said after the fight, he was like, "You don't see the things that I see." He went back to the changing rooms. He was still shaking. I mean, you don't get medical treatment like that if you're diving about. And if he was, which I don't think he is, then it's got no place in professional boxing. But yeah, he took a big one there. He ate that and he went down, and you can tell by the way his legs split across. I mean, that was a nasty knockout, and we're happy that he's okay. But if I say one thing about that fight, I was really looking forward to seeing Fabio's ability against a better competitor, and we only really saw 2 rounds of it, which I was a bit gutted for. I'd like to see maybe go into the 6th or 7th round with a stoppage at the end. But great knockout, great entertainment as well. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. Eddie Hearn's comments go a long way because obviously he sees everything behind the scenes. I thought it was a great right hand round the guard, which was a punch that maybe that someone who perhaps I didn't know that he had in his locker, maybe because he's obviously inexperienced, but he has been training for a long time with Dillian Whyte and other top people like that. So when you put it like that, he's someone who's rapidly rising, and a fair play to him. I think he looks dangerous. He looks big, strong lad, very hungry, very professional. Apparently, just wants to progress going forward. But obviously, we asked the question again: who's next? Who next? I got a few names written down here. Likes of Lucas Brown, maybe next. What do you think about that potential fight?
Yeah, I think that it would be, again, I think Wardley would go through him, to be honest. Brown's he's been a steady fighter over the years. He obviously won the regular title, but I do think he's on the way out now. I think that if he was to take that fight, it'd be a payday. I know they've been back and forth on Instagram and Twitter and stuff, but I think I'd fancy Wardley for that one.
In terms of any other names on the list?
The coverage on the night, they were comparing Wardley to the likes of Dubois, Joe Joyce. He's definitely got the ability. He's just not. He's probably about 2 or 3 fights behind. But on the comparison to that, like, fantastic young British heavyweights coming through. I mean, we've got them in bunches now, and there's some great fights in the future there. Some really, really good fights in the future. I guess we'll see what 2021's got in store for him, but it can only get better, really.
I think that people may be sleeping on him a bit, to be honest. I think how busy the heavyweight scene is now. I think that maybe he's a bit underrated. People aren't watching him as much because they're more looking at the Joyces and Dubois of the world. He hasn't really had much attention, but I think he's got a great person to look up to in Dillian Whyte as well, who's also got Babic in his stable. So it shows that Whyte has got a good eye for picking out these up-and-coming heavyweights. But with Wardley, I think, he's not too far behind your Joyces and Dubois, but maybe 2 or 3 more fights with maybe opponents. I think maybe the Gorman fight, that'd be a good test for him, because I think Gorman's a decent British level heavyweight. But a few more tests and he won't be far, them 2 boys.
Yeah, I don't think it would take too long for him to rise through, especially with the way his stock's going as well. It's only going up. I think he has to fight. He has to fight the likes of the people that like Joe Joyce and Dubois fought to get to where they are now. He's got to fight those level opponents. Maybe and go in with a Bryant Jennings at some point. Maybe that could be a fight 1 or 2 down the line. That's a good level opponent for him. But obviously he's got great backing, and I'm sure we'll see him be very active in the next year or 2. So definitely one to watch for the future. But on to the main event for the night. Conor Benn Formella I thought it was a great fight. He had a very, very media heavy week, should we say. I mean, we saw a lot of him in the media. Very emotional, very exposed himself, his emotions. He was very out there, and I think everyone got to see the real Conor Benn this week. And I just very pleased with the performance for him, because he had a lot of eyes on him, a lot of pressure, but he came through with a great win. It's probably one of the best performances of his career, if not the best so far. So what did you think of his performance in terms of his boxing ability, David?
I thought he was very good. He looked really sharp. Formella was going to be a big step up in opponents for him, but I thought he jabbed well, good footwork. He just looked, he just keeps on taking these step ups, and he just looks like he's getting better and better with every fight, to be honest. He obviously showed his punching power as well, which is maybe people have questioned that about him, but I think he's brilliant on the night.
Yeah, too fast, too strong and diverse for Formella for me. Anybody else who would be in there at a similar level, he would have been out there in 6 rounds. Great chin from the German, honest, great chin. I was like, how is he eating these shots and still going forward? And fair play, he did keep coming forward, and he gave the fight to Conor on maybe 1 or 2 rounds. I scored it about 99, 91. yeah, I think that would be fair. Give a round or maybe 2 to Formella. Conor's absence from the ring, as you can see, is that he's been working on a lot, and I feel like his repertoire is just very diverse now. And I'm really, really looking forward to see what 2021's got in store for Conor Benn. I followed him, remember his very first fight, and from now, what it was about 4 or 5 years ago now, every fight, still try and keep up with him, and I think he's good for the sport. And if he takes on Josh Kelly in the summer, it's just an unbelievable domestic clash. That would be one of the fights of the year for me. But yeah, really impressed, and it's up from here for Conor. He did really well, and he's very professional, which he doesn't let it get to his head. He knows what he wants, and he's taking his time, and he's got good people in his corner. Great trad, gives him great advice too.
Yeah, that Josh Kelly fight is mouth-watering to say the least. I mean, domestic clashes always bring out the best in fighters, I think, especially when they're rising and they're unbeaten and they're both very confident and both have a lot of ability as well. And I feel like that fight would have so many moments where you'd just be in awe. I think the power, the skill levels, the pace, the speed, the footwork. I think the fight just makes sense. Whether it can be made or not, we'll see. But hopefully, as 2021 comes around, I think the big fights we're going to see in 2021. I think this is one that Eddie Hearn would love to make. And obviously, you saw the interview afterwards. He was begging for it, crying for it. He wanted it so bad, and you feel like he will get it after that performance. He's earned his right to go and get who he wants now. And going, Formella went 12 rounds with Sean Porter. There's a few shouts on Twitter for people saying that he'd love to see the Conor Benns try and jump up, a higher level now, even just jump up to take on people who are seasoned or people who have faced for world titles. Do you think he's ready to, if the Josh Kelly fight isn't made, do you think he can jump up to, a higher level, even potentially world level?
I think January, February should be a buffer fight. Get him out there again. Similar level to Formella or maybe someone from the domestic scene. Just to supplement in between when obviously Kelly fights in January. So I think one more fight there, and if the Kelly fight can't get made, it's very, very early to talk about world level fights for Conor. It's a good question, really. I can only really see the Kelly fight being made, and if it doesn't, I guess we'll see from there. But I just want to keep on being active, really. I mean, he said at the start of March he wouldn't want to fight through lockdown, which was a shame, really. He said it's not the same about the fans, but he came and he put on a great performance last Saturday. On to you, David. What do you think?
I would like to see him have, but depending on the Kelly fight, that's the one that needs to be made for me. But I would like to see him maybe have 1 or 2 fights at this level, so we can really see what he's about. Because obviously it was a brilliant test against Formella, but it's the best one of his career. So I think it would be a little bit too early to be going to that world level, and I'd like to see him have a few fights at the level he fought last week.
Yeah, I think that would be the plan. Obviously, people haven't been very active this year. And if they have been, it's been in these circumstances. So I think a lot of people just want to get out as much as possible in 2021. So in terms of fights, I think we'll see a lot of movement next year, I think, around all weights. But I feel like, yeah, another fight while Josh Kelly fights early in the year, and then we could look to make that a couple months after that. So that's a fight, you could potentially see, not too far away in the distant future. So I'm a big fan of that. Any final words on the weekend's fights? Best moment for you?
Yeah, well, for me, it was the Wardley knockout. I thought it was brutal. I'm really impressed with him, to be honest. He's staying busy, and I'm a big fan of. I hope he can go far. But it was that knockout for me. Great punch. For me, it would be just taken back really by Babic. How he could just keep on going and going and going, and I'm sure he probably had about 4 or 5 more rounds of that just complete ferocity, really. And it's the best moment for me because it makes me interested for the future and see what Eddie Hearn's got planned for him.
going back to Conor as well. Obviously, in the build up to the fight, he stated that he wanted the British title, the British welterweight title, because his dad never had it. Maybe that's the fight that gets made next year, fighting for the British title, the Lonsdale belt. Sorry. And as I say, the fight on the weekend, it silenced a lot of doubters and it's put his name right in the discussion in that division.
Yeah, I've got to agree there. Yeah, I think the Wardley knockout has got to be a huge moment. That's a great moment. It looked great, and it looks great on the replays as well. It looked great watching it back even just today. So it was a great moment for him, and definitely I think moment of the night, which was a decent card, a decent weekend of free boxing in a time where pay-per-view prices are rising. But no, it was a good weekend, and we will look forward to the huge fights this weekend in the next podcast coming very soon this week. May even look to preview the Friday night fights as well, because there's Tony Yoka fighting on Friday night and there's Daniel Jacobs as well. So boxing is buzzing at the moment, even without fans. So we will look forward to a couple more podcasts this week and regular ones in the future as well. So for now, thanks boys, and hopefully I'll see you soon.
See you later.
Thanks everyone for listening, and stay tuned for more coming very soon from VAVEL Boxing.